I wish we had a picture of her. She was very pretty. When I met her, and at that time, how old would she have been? She had the cutest little nestle. And she had long eyes, real long eyes. Curly hair. She was heavy, but she had a very pretty face.
Yeah, well, they met probably 1903 or early 1904, and they were married in January of 1905.
Okay. Why don't we switch to Grandma and you tell us about when you were born and growing up and
when
your
my
sisters
mother
and
and father
brothers.
got married, they lived in Waterbury for a little while, and my father didn't like it. In Russia, Jews were not allowed to own property, and he wanted some land, and I don't know how he saved up enough money to buy a farm in the town of Morris, Connecticut. My mother was never happy in Morris. She was a real city girl, and there were 3 other Jewish families in Morris. Very little social life. She baked pies. She was a wonderful apple pie baker, and for the church suppers every Friday night or Saturday night, she baked the pies for them.
For the church?
Yeah.
She always got the blue ribbon
At the state fairs.
at the state fair, and whenever the Grange had a shindig, Sophie's apple pies always took the cake.
Yeah. They went real fast.
Blue
She
ribbon.
did make a beautiful apple pie.
So they lived on a farm in
They
Morris.
lived on a farm in Morris. I don't know how they did this, because I don't know where they got the money from. They knocked down, they bought an old home, and they knocked it down and built a new house, and it was a big house. 4 bedrooms upstairs and 4 rooms downstairs. It was really a big house.
And so
they built the barns and all, and they farmed.
The barns and the silo and the chicken coops.
So they had chickens, eggs, and so
They didn't have chickens in the beginning. After the children all grew up and went away from home, my mother didn't have enough to do, and more money was very, very good, so she took on chickens. She bought these baby chickens, and she raised them and sold eggs.
So what did they farm before that, when you were young?
Oh, milk.
Just milk.
Milk and
Milk, and they
potatoes.
planted potatoes and cabbage and corn.
So tell about the children, your sisters and
I
brothers.
had an older brother.
Born when?
He died young. He died when he was 59 years old. He went to Pratt Institute and became an engineer.
What was his name?
Was at the height of
Electrical engineer.
What was his name?
Milton. He also didn't like the city, and in no time he gave up the engineering and he market gardened.
But wait a minute, you forgot to mention that after he graduated from Pratt Institute, he got a job with General Electric in Schenectady, New York. He didn't like that. Came back to
And then he
Connecticut.
worked on Wall Street. It had something to do with keeping the tickers all going right or something. And he didn't like it. He didn't like the city. He didn't like living in New York. He's married. He got married and had 2 boys, Bobby and David.
Oh.
Then I came along.
What
I went to
year?
Teachers College. I got a job.
What year were you born?
1913.
19.
Why don't you
April
tell a
12th.
little bit about where you went to school, the story that you told me yesterday?
Oh, in the country where I lived, there were 3 people in my grade. There was another girl, Frances, and a boy, my cousin Bernie, and myself.
Wait, not just Bernie.
From
Bernie Felcher.
Bernie Felcher. From 1st grade right through 3rd year high school, we were 3 people in my class, and that's all. There was
In
a
the
2-room
schoolhouse.
Let me tell her.
Yes.
Downstairs, there was no kindergarten. 1st grade through 7th grade. 1 room, 1 teacher. Upstairs, 8th grade, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd year high school. 1 teacher. 15-minute periods, and all the subjects sort of worked in. It was fine, because by the time we got to be juniors, we heard everything so many times. We're all sitting in the same room. We really did well. Then I went to Watertown High School for my senior year, because my father was afraid my brother would never get into a college from Morris. So he drove us back and forth to Watertown, which was 10 miles away, every day. And then I decided I wanted to be a school teacher, so I went to Connecticut Teachers College in New Britain, Connecticut. And 6 of us got jobs after graduation. I was lucky. I was one of the 6. And then I met Archie.
All right, Grandpa, why don't you tell about your life from when you were born until you met Grandma?
Do I have to tell you by the day, the year, or the pound?
The pound.
He was skinny. He was so skinny that he went to school.
I was anemic. And I got this very, very outstanding voice because of, we didn't know what it was at that time, but today it would have been a strep throat. I had blood poisoning. And when I was in the 1st grade in public school, the school nurse told my mother that I should have my tonsils out. My mother said, well, if the school says so, it's got to do what the school wants. So I wound up in the Long Island medical school.
Didn't you have your tonsils out at home?
No,
That was a
that was the
gruesome
second
story.
time. I went Skemmerhorn Street in Brooklyn. It was a college, medical college. And they had a bunch of kids there. And we got our tonsils taken out.
By medical students?
No, I don't know who the hell took them out.
That's not nice.
But all I know is that I was all of 6 years old, and I was bleeding like a little piglet, and I don't know what time they operated on me, but in the morning they woke us up and they gave us cold, dry toast and milk for breakfast.
Ouch, ouch.
Yeah.
When I got home, I got sick, and I don't want to tell you the gruesome details. I wound up in bed for about 6, 7 months. During that period, we had a doctor come to the house, and I sat on my father's lap, and he held me very tight with one arm, and he held a soup dish under my chin with another, and the doctor put a tongue depressor on, and he just scooped out whatever was messy looking in my throat. That's all.
That's all.
I had nothing
They
to it.
took out his soft palate.
I
That's
have
why,
no soft palate.
That's why he...
Many people that don't
Talk.
have it don't talk.
Oh.
So whatever I'm telling you is a bonus. It's
Wait,
all
so-
extra.
That's incredible.
It
It's
is
incredible, and it sounds impossible, but I couldn't get any cosmetic surgery because
So if we opened your mouth right now and I did a zoom, there'd be
This
nothing back there?
There's nothing back there.
You want
This
to
is
zoom
80 years
my
ago.
throat?
No. Come on.
Bottomless pit.
That was 80 years ago,
That's
and
right.
medicine in this country was like
It
that.
was not quite 80 years
But
ago.
after that you got
It'll
better?
be 80 years ago in about 4 months.
Seems like you would have got
Huh?
sicker.
We had a country doctor. He decided, young man, he wanted to be a doctor, so he hung out a shingle. And he was a country doctor. He smoked cigars, and when we got sick, we'd call Dr. Marcy. And somehow the smell of the cigar in the house, you knew the doctor was there. You felt better right away.
Mm. Okay, so tell me,
No, but with this thing, I was really so bad that the local doctor, Dr. Henry Lerner, whose office was 5 blocks away from where we lived in Brooklyn, he used to come at the end of his day's rounds, he would come and sleep on a couch near my bed. He did that for a couple of weeks. I was really in bad shape.
and how old were you then?
About 6. So,
And then after they scooped out half your throat, then you were better?
oh, fine. Fine, almost. I was anemic.
Yeah, I bet.
I was anemic.
And did you
When
have
we
it?
moved
Did
to
you
the-
lose your voice then, and it came back, or?
No. We moved to New York City, to the Lower East Side, into the melting pot,
Mhm.
and I attended public school in